This is a video tutorial for SP6g Half-Life. Now, when we set you some work on this a couple of weeks ago, I know a number of you very much struggled with this concept, especially with the problems that we set you to do with it. So I thought today I would make this video tutorial to help you go through the topic, and then I'm going to run through some of the problems towards the end, and hopefully run through some solutions to those. Now, this is one of Marie Curie's notebooks, where she would record down some of her radioactivity experiments. Now, Marie Curie was a physicist from the late 1800s to the early 1900s. Now, even though this notebook would have been written in probably just over 100 years ago now, we're not allowed to touch it until the year 3516. Now, this is because, obviously, when Marie Curie was handling the radioactive sources, she would then be handling this notebook, and some of that radioactive material would end up on the pages themselves. Now, those radioactive sources have been decaying, but still, it's still to the point where you can't actually touch it with your bare hands. And today we want to look at why eventually we will be able to touch it with our bare hands safely, say in that year 3516. Now, when a substance undergoes radioactive decay, its nucleus becomes more stable. So it's going from having a lot of energy, very unstable, wanting to decay, becoming stable and no longer wanting to decay. Now, the number of decays per second is what we call the activity. So if there's lots of decays happening in a second, it has a very high activity. If there's not many decays happening per second, low activity. Now, we measure this in this new unit, which is called the becquerel, or BQ for short. 1 BQ is 1 decay per second. So you count how many decays are happening in a second, and that is the activity in BQ. Now, what is half-life? Now, the definition of half-life is one of those definitions you need for your exams. You need to be able to recall this definition off the top of your head. And it's better if you can do it in the exact wording that I've got here. So half-life is the amount of time it takes for half the unstable nuclei to decay. Okay, that's the important word, unstable nuclei to decay. So, for example, if you've got 100 radioactive nuclei, then the half-life is how long it takes for 50 of them to decay. Now, we cannot predict when a nucleus is going to decay. It's a completely random process. If I bring up this here, this little animation, we've got these plutonium nuclei. Now, just by looking at this picture, we cannot tell, and there is no way to tell, which one is going to decay next. And it's the same in the real world. If we had a sample of this plutonium, we could never know which decay is going to take place, or which atom is going to decay next. But on average, at the start, when there's a lot of these nuclei, if I click play, a lot of them are going to decay very quickly. But as I leave it running, there are now few atoms that can decay, and therefore the activity reduces. You see now there are few decays taking place, whereas at the start there are a lot of decays happening. At the end, now there are very, very few. Now, the half-life then is how long it's going to take for half of those to decay. And each isotope has its own half-life, and it doesn't matter on the mass of that isotope. So here, the half-life of 50 grams of uranium is going to be the same as 5 grams of uranium, as long as they're the same isotope of uranium. So they have the same number of neutrons. So I've got some common isotopes and their half-lives here. So uranium-235, so that's its mass number, is 700 million years. Carbon-14, about 6,000 years. Cesium, 30 years. And radon, 3.8 days. So the isotopes, different isotopes have very, very different half-life, going from very, very large to very, very small. So, a little practice question. 10 kilogram sample of cesium-137 has a half-life of 30 years. What will the mass of cesium-137 be after 60 years? So if you'd like, pause the video now, have a go at this question, and I'll go through the answer. Okay, so we can say that 60 years is going to be 2 half-lives. 1 half-life is 30 years, so 60 years is 2 half-lives. So, well, after 1 half-life, we know that half of the nuclei are going to decay, so the mass is also going to half. So half of 10 kilograms were decayed, so half of 10 is 5, leaving 5 kilograms left. But that's only just after 1 half-life. We're asked for 2 half-lives. So we half it again, and we end up with 2.5 kilograms. So your answer should have been 2.5 kilograms. Now this is an experiment you can do at home. If you have, say, a big bag of Skittles, if you count out how many you start with and record that number in a table, and then tip them all out onto a desk and remove any Skittles where the S is showing. Then count how many you've got left and record that in the table. Keep going. After each throw, removing any with the S showing, counting how many you've got left, and do that until 1 Skittle remains. What you want to do with your results then is plot them in a graph like this, with the number of throws at the bottom and the number of Skittles left on the side. What you'll be left with is a graph very similar to this. So at the top, so in this example we started with 50 and we went all the way down till we had 1 left. Now this is the graph that you're going to get if you do the same thing with radioactive material. If we replace the number of throws with time and we replace the number of Skittles with the activity, we'd see the same curve take place. Now we can use these graphs to work out the half-life, and we're going to have a look at working out the half-life of these bag of Skittles. So if we started with 50 Skittles, well, how many Skittles are we going to have after 1 half-life? Well, it's going to be 25. Half of 50 is 25. So we draw a line on the y-axis going across from 25. And then when it meets the line of best fit, draw a line down, and we see that it comes down to about 2 throws. So the half-life of these bag of Skittles is 2 throws. So after every 2 throws, we would expect the number of Skittles left to half. So pause the video now and see if you can work out the half-life of each of these sources. Okay, let's have a go at this. So we're going to start with source A, this one that goes down quite quickly. So it starts at 120 BQ activity. So half of 120 would be 60. So we draw a line out to 60, out to the line from 60. Then we draw the line down, and it comes to 5. So we can say the half-life of source A is 5 seconds. Now, if we wanted to make sure that we were correct, what we could do is we could try to do 2 half-lives. So after 1 half-life, we have 60 BQ activity, becquerels of activity. So if we half that, we end up with 30. So let's try doing it for 30. Draw the line along, and then down. And this time we end up at 10 seconds. Now that matches what we would expect from our first result. So after 1 half-life, it was 5 seconds. After 2, it was 10. So now we can be pretty confident that our half-life is 5 seconds. And obviously, if you wanted to, you could do this again. So you could go down to 12.5, and do the same thing again. And you'd end up here at 15. And you could keep going, all the way down to the bottom. Now for source B, you can do the same thing. If I do it in a different color. We're going to go start 60 because once again our starting activity was 120. Go along. Go down. And we end up at 20. So we can say that the half-life of source B is 20 seconds. And if you go along this line again, I won't draw it, but we'll see the after 2 half-lives we end up at 40, which once again matches the result we got from 1 half-life. So here's an exam style question. This is the sort of question you might see in your actual exams. Once again, pause the video and have a go, see if you can get the answer. So the question says, a sample of cesium-137 has an activity of 100 becquerels. What will the activity be after 90 years? And I've put a little bit of information there at the bottom and told you that the half-life of cesium-137 is 30 years. So we'd start by trying to work out, well, how many half-lives is that? Well, 30 years would be one half-life, 60 years would be two half-lives, 90 years would be three half-lives. So we're looking for what the activity is going to be after three half-lives. So after one half-life, we would divide that 100 by 2 to get 50. After two half-lives, we would divide it by 2 again to get 25. And then finally, the three half-lives divided by 2 again, and we end up with 12.5. So the activity after three half-lives is going to be 12.5 BQ or becquerel. The last question I'd like to go through is this one, another one taken from Isaac Physics. The question says, suppose the activity of a sample of radioactive material was at 100 becquerels at the start. What would you divide 100 by to obtain the activity at one half-life? So if we start with activity of 100 becquerels, then we know that after one half-life, that's going to go down to 50 becquerels. So, well, what do we have to divide by to get that? Well, we just divide by 2. Now at the bottom here, I'm going to keep a total of what we've divided by at each stage to get through each level. So once again, to get from 100 to 50 from the one half-life, we've divided by 2, which is 2 to the power 1. Okay, and that will become important in a moment. Now after two half-lives, what's the total activity going to be? Well, it's going to be this new 50 divided by half again. So after two half-lives, it's going to go down to 25. So once again, we've divided this 50 by 2. But from the start, the 100, we've actually divided by 4. 100 divided by 4 gives you 25. So from the question here, what would you divide 100 by to obtain the activity at two half-lives? Well, it's 4. Or we can write that as 2 to the power 2, 2 squared. The next question says, after three half-lives, what would we have to divide 100 becquerels by? So we would do 3 half-lives, 25, halved, give you 12.5. Once again, we've divided by 2. Now to get this from the original 100, this time we've got to divide by 8. Dividing by 2, then dividing by 2, then dividing by 2. So dividing by 8. Or dividing by 2 to the power 3. And you might start to notice a pattern with this power here. Now part D says, well, what do you get after 4 half-lives? Well, same thing again. Take this new 12.5, divide it by 2 again, and you get 6.25 becquerels. So what have we divided by in total? 16. So if you do 100 divided by 16, that gives you this new 6.25. Or that's 2 to the power 4. 16 is 2 to the power 4. And we can see now that the number of half-lives is equal to the power here that you're dividing by. So if we wanted to say, get the 20th half-life, well, all we have to do is divide 100 by 2 times 2 times 2 20 times, or it's 2 to the power 20. So the thing we're dividing by is 2 to the power 20. If it was 25 half-lives, it would be 2 to the power 25. 1,000 half-lives, 2 to the power 1,000, and so on. So in this case, for 20 half-lives, 100 divided by 2 times 2 times 2 times 2, so on, 2 to the power 20, which comes out of this about just over 1 million. So the answer for this question would be this number here, 1,048,576. Okay, that ends this tutorial. I hope you found it useful. Goodbye.